When I got into the Air Force after I graduated high school, I got introduced over in Japan to O-scale. In the Tokyo area, one of the fellas that was a barber, his son that visited our radar site that I was stationed at for a while, told me about O-scale. And I went with him one time to Tokyo and visited and saw some of these O-scale engines that they were producing. And at that time, I fell in love with O-scale. And when I got out of the Air Force, I met my buddy Gus Margaritas, who I have a picture of, and used to be in the hobby, started me off in O-scale because he was in O-scale at the time. And I traded all my HO stuff for O-scale. And from that time on, I've modeled O-scale. And I always wanted to build something that didn't exist. It seemed that way anyway. So I got into scratch building steam locomotives. And from about the age of, I'd say, 25, maybe a couple of years after I got out of the service when I was 23, from about the age of 25 until presently, I've been scratch building steam locomotives. Right now on the layout, I have 17 engines that I built. And passenger cars, freight cars, the whole works. So my love in this hobby is, I'd have to say, the rolling stock. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name's Rick, and I'm a personal friend of Mr. Bill Leider's. We share this video to celebrate his lifelong journey in the hobby of model railroading. Tonight we feature his remarkable depiction of the Union Pacific Oregon Short Line Division in two-rail O-scale. This highly detailed layout connects Salt Lake City, Utah with Portland, Oregon. Along this route, we have station stops at Ogden and Pocatello. We'll also enjoy the vast beauty of the northwestern United States. The two-rail O-scale railroad features code 148 hand-laid track and turnouts. The minimum radius is 76 inches. The railroad traverses the perimeter of a 38 by 51 foot basement, which allows for a comfortable space in the center to host crew members and guests. The railroad is operated by DC and by the newly installed DCC system. It has been the cover feature on April of 2007 Model Railroader magazine. As Bill gives us our tour, take a moment. The majority of the layout is scratch built, meaning he constructed the locomotives, rolling stock, and structures by hand. He formed the landscape and hand painted the backdrop, and all of this required many years of research. Thank you for visiting, and let us rewind to June of 1950.
This railroad is a division of the Union Pacific, a fully owned and operated division. We are entering the railroad here off of this tunnel into Weber Canyon. Weber Canyon is located just east of Ogden and Salt Lake City. This is the Weber River and the bridge that the double track main line goes over across the Weber River on the way to Ogden, Utah. And we're passing an oil refinery here. One of my very dear friends who passed away, Elmer Passaw, helped me build this because he was a executive for one of the oil companies and knew exactly how the piping and different things in oil refineries work. As we proceed on, we get into the town of Ogden, Utah, at the Union Station, which is right here to my left, and the passenger station, which was located in the city of Ogden, Utah, and was on part of the railroad that we are depicting. I always had an interest in anything that the UP operated. And one of the most magnificent trains that the Union Pacific ever ran was the city of Los Angeles and the city of San Francisco, which this is. And I particularly, this particular one is the one that I chose as my favorite. And the era is right when diesels were coming in. This was during a steam and diesel era that this was built for the Union Pacific, and the E6s on the front end, A and B units, and all of the cars are scratch built. My favorite type of material to use for building passenger cars over the years has seemed to formed into plastic. I love using styrene. Cars are all built up according to the prototype and the particular cars that ran on this particular train. And this is from a la 1940s up to about the early 1950s this ran. And we're heading north right now into a little town called, this is McCammon, Utah. The station and the Farmers Grain Co-op are part of McCammon, Utah, which was a division point on the Union Pacific. As we travel and go a little bit north and west, we're coming into what is called Portneuf Gap, which is the area just at the south end and the east end of Pocatello, Idaho. We are now entering the town of Pocatello, Idaho, and the yards here signify some of the yards, a very few more portion of the yards that were in Pocatello. This is the station facade that exists today at Pocatello and is used by the freight crews for a division point on the Union Pacific right now, as of today. The railroad takes place in June of 1950, and there was running 27 passenger cars out of Ogden, Utah at the time that this railroad takes place. Every day they would run between the west coast and the east coast and north and south. Right now you're entering the far end of the yard where this is the ice house, rather, at Pocatello along the river here, which was used to ice all the refrigerator cars back in the days of steam. This is just a small portion of the actual ice house that existed in Pocatello. You're passing the end of the yards here now with the Big Boy and the Challenger lined up on a freight. We're going north and we're going west and into the little town of Ketchum, Utah, where the Hollywoodites used to come to ski in the winter and play in the summer. It's a very beautiful area near Ogden in Utah. And this is the little station at Ketchum, Utah, as we go around the bend north and west of this area, which is called Mountain Home. Mountain Home was a town at the very west edge of Idaho on the way to the Portland, Oregon, and Washington. This particular town was a town where they had stationed aircraft during the Korean War, of which I was a member of this particular portion of the Air Force for a short time when I was on flying status. And we model this town because it's very well known on the Union Pacific, and one was a major stop before we got into the Oregon Trail and the rest of the railroad, which is due west of this area. And the Blue Ridge Mountains are located right here and are a portion of the layout that is entering into the Oregon Territory far west and under the tunnel takes you into Portland. Clockwise on this layout is considered westbound. Counterclockwise is considered eastbound. Once we get into the tunnel and come out of the tunnel, we come back to where we started from. That's a Rand McNally turntable. That's the maker of it, was Rand McNally. It was the largest turntable that the UP had. It would turn, obviously, big boys and anything less. Big boy being the largest engine they had, which was 34 feet, 34 inches long. Well, I forget the feet. 1 inch is 4 feet. There's a 34 times 4. The roundhouse originally at Cheyenne was 49 stalls. This is only a small replica of it, because if I was to make it 49 stalls, it would have come over to here, and it would have taken up where you are over there too. So I didn't have the room for anything more. The turntable is from Cheyenne. The roundhouse is from Cheyenne, but the coaling tower and the house here with the coaling tower is from Pocatello, but the gantry crane again is from Cheyenne. And this is an ash pit where they dumped the ashes when they came in, and they used them and they dumped them into this gondola, and then they used them for ballast in the yards. Coaling tower, and it's also a water tower. It serves water for the steam engines and coal. That is a replica of the one that was at Pocatello. This is a house that they used to heat up the sand so that it wasn't wet, and then they shot it through pipes and stuff into the tower, and there's also sand pipes that come out, and etc. So that was a facility here, was for sand and for coal and for water. This is the control board for the layout, which is the master control panel, has 2 controllers on it, and works in both DCC and DC. These are 4 position selector switches. The first position is for DCC. The second position is for DCC. The third position is for DC. And the fourth position was for remote control, which I got rid of because I didn't use it. All of the lights in the switches, when the power is on, indicate how the track is lined up. I don't have a proud feature on the layout. All of the area around the layout was painted, hand painted by me with acrylics, and represents the areas due to photographs that I took of the areas where the train runs. And I would say that one of the things that I get a kick out of, I don't know if I'm proud of it or not, but my daughter was informed at one time that people used to find out if these were real rocks by touching them and breaking the wires here all the time. So she got me this tarantula spider to put up there and said that that would keep people's hands away from that area. And by golly, if it didn't work. Okay, when I was a child, about 9 years old, I took the train from Chicago Northwestern Depot to Riverside, California, to my aunt and uncles, who had a ranch out there, boys' school and a ranch, and I stayed for a year and a half. And on the way there, I went with my grandfather, my mother's father, and he introduced me to railroading in the sense that when we got to Salt Lake City, we had 2 Challengers on the front end, and he worked for the Chicago Northwestern and talked to the engineer, and he brought me up on one of the Challengers, and I sat on his lap, and I was scared to death because at that age, I didn't realize how hot it got on the back head of a steam locomotive. And I was always moving my face away from the back head because it was so hot. And the engineer would laugh and say, yes, he said, now you know we have to go with it. It's not all joy and glory. And after that, I was so enamored with the locomotives and the train that I sat in our Pullman car and wouldn't go to dinner with them because we were going through the Sierra Nevadas on the way to California. And we had a 17-car train, and we were in the middle, right next to the diner, okay? And because of that, I could see that 1 Challenger pushing us and 2 pulling us around the Sierra Nevadas at the time with a 17-car Pullman. And that was very exciting. And after I got to California, railroad from my youth, because my grandfather worked for the Northwestern, and from this experience stayed with me. And I became enamored with the West. And by becoming enamored with it, I went out several trips to this area where this railroad takes place. And I loved the railroad and the Union Pacific in that part. So that's why I photographed it 20, 30 times and took many photographs of the areas and painted them on the walls as you see it as you go around. Right. I want them to appreciate the work and the artistry that goes into building a beautiful steam locomotive, for instance. It takes a lot of, I hate to use the word, but talent, and it takes a lot of perseverance, because my one engine that was my piece of resistance, you might say, took me 40 years of research and 19 years to build. So that's a long time in anybody's life. And if you have a love for what you're doing, you persevere and you do it. And I found that when I was a child, the most complicated machine that man ever built was the steam locomotive. And that fascinated me. I wanted to know every part of it and why it worked and how it worked, more than anything in my life. Socially, I would say that I have adopted and had more friends in this hobby than for any other reason. It's become the mainstay of my life, shall we say. The people that I meet, the kind of people that I meet, the kind of people that I associate with in this hobby have been nothing but the most fondest memories I will ever have. Absolutely. Just a joy to behold as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome. Yes. Sure.
For us.
This is my darling wife, Stephanie. She is the idol of my life and always has been and always will be.
And I put up with all that.
She is the one that comes every Friday night with me and serves coffee and to all the fellas. And
I enjoy it.
it's enjoyable to have her as a wife because she is so kind and so good. And she is my mainstay in my life, the main purpose that I am here today.
Second to railroading.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Oh, I thought it was going to work.